Meet Davon, the Dragon Knight on a mission to prove he's more than just talk. He squares off against a fierce dragon god and somehow comes out on top. But winning comes with a catch. He now wields a power that could wipe out everything. Will he step up as the hero we need, or will he become the ultimate menace? In the beginning, the primordial mind crafted the universe with endless imagination. But when good and evil clashed, it shattered into gods, monsters, and humans. All these beings in the universe fought each other to get the power to control everything. However, Terrorblade was the most determined of them all, and he found the secret to the creation, and he was determined to obtain and rule over the universe. In a medieval battlefield, we see some knights fighting against giant dragons. One knight named Davon avoids all the attacks of an angry yellow dragon, as his teammate Fruling gets frustrated by his defensive attitude. Suddenly, however, the dragon senses an attack from Davon and digs underground. Davon goes in alone, carefully scouting the dark tunnel. The surroundings rumble, and the dragon pops out from a hole. Davon expects its attack and takes it down, stabbing it through the core and finishing the job. After taking down the dragon, Davon begins skinning it for its meat. Fruling slaps the dragon around, angry that this creature took away his soldiers. However, Davon warns him not to disrespect his kill. The group heads further down the tunnel to explore and sees baby dragon bodies littered around. Davon notes that the dragons attacked each other as if they went crazy because of hunger or something else. Without any proof of what happened to them, they decide to leave. While leaving, Davon hears a breathing sound and realizes that an elder dragon is sleeping below. Fruling thinks they should attack and take out the threat, but the dragon slayer points out that even an entire army can't handle an elder dragon, so they should just let it sleep. Fruling thinks he's a coward, but accepts reluctantly. After going back out, the group heads out to the town to celebrate. Davon spots some women crying near a body and sees a boy paying respects to his late father. Davon tells him to keep going to honor his father's legacy, and the boy promises to train hard and become a soldier just like his father in the future. Davon encourages the boy and leaves after handing him a dragon's fang. They then enter a tavern, where Davon's friend Bram tells everyone the exciting story of how he led the dragon around and defeated it. Barm holds a woman in his arms and tries acting like he is also important in the battle, but the disappointed women know he is just watching uselessly from the sidelines. Davon gets up to order some more drinks, but fails to notice a woman ordering before him. To apologize to her, Davon orders 2 free drinks for her sake. The woman is surprised that he gets free drinks, but learns that he is a famous dragon slayer who defeated a dangerous dragon threatening their town. However, Fruling shows up to be a party pooper, saying that Davon left the strongest dragon back inside the tunnel. Davon warns him once again that they cannot afford to fight such a powerful monster, but Fruling remains unconvinced. Meanwhile, the lady named Mirana returns to her partner Marcy with her drinks. A cloaked man named Gawin sits down next to her, and Mirana asks him about the deal she made with him. He recalls that he promised to give her information on the lotus flowers of the goddess Celine. But this angers Mirana, who points out that she asked for the flowers, not information. The man pretends to leave, so Mirana panics and offers him some items to exchange. He isn't interested but stops when she gives him her bracelet, saying he knows about her real identity. Before they can discuss their deal further, a burly man from the tavern barges in on their table, trying to flirt with the 2 girls. He gets angry at Gawin and tries to hit him, which shakes off his cloak and reveals him to be an elf. This shocks everyone else in the tavern as well, since elves are considered brutal animals by everyone there. The grumpy man gets angry at the elf and prepares to attack him, but Davon suddenly interrupts him and drags the elf outside, saying he will take care of him. Once Davon is outside with the elf, he quietly tells him to run away. Princess Mirana, who followed him outside, feels surprised that Davon has such a soft heart. Somewhere outside the tavern, we see Fruling swinging his sword around, remembering all the dragons that hurt him. He tells all his imaginary demons that he is not afraid of them, but one of the voices in his head becomes real and tells him that he is indeed scared of all the dragons. This is the voice of Terrorblade, who offers him incredible power, but only if he allows it to enter his body and control him. The next morning, Davon wakes up with a beautiful woman whose name he doesn't even know. The woman doesn't care too much about him, but Barm comes barging in, saying that Fruling has gone into the tunnel to fight the adult dragon inside. Davon immediately wakes up and gets ready to go outside. After he leaves, Barm also uses his blood to teleport himself to the battlefield. Davon gets to the tunnel and goes inside, where he trips and falls into a hole. There, he sees Captain Fruling, seemingly possessed by a demon. Davon is shocked that Fruling could get down so deep and cause so much destruction, but when Fruling turns around with a green glow in his eyes, he realizes that his friend is long gone. The possessed Fruling offers to join him and get all his powers, saying that even the adult dragon in the tunnel is no match for him. Fruling then recalls how Davon watched his father burn in an attack, knowing that the traumatic event caused the boy to become a soldier. He offers him infinite power to defeat all the dragons that caused him to lose his father, but Davon is not bought off that easily. Suddenly, another voice comes from the cave and orders Fruling to release the old dragon Uldarak's soul. Fruling doesn't seem interested, and instead prepares for a fight against another mighty dragon, Slyrak. Slyrak tells Davon to go home since he doesn't want to hurt a weak human. Fruling also controls the dead old dragon's body and prepares to fight Slyrak head-on. The battle is horrifying, and Davon does his best to avoid the shockwaves and get away from them. Slyrak is very powerful and gains the upper hand at the start. However, Terrorblade manages to bite off his arm, which leaves In weakened. He taunts Slyrak for being afraid of him, but the powerful dragon is filled with nothing but hatred for his evil opponent. Slyrak bravely tries fighting back, but because of his weakness, Terrorblade defeats him and knocks him to the ground. Terrorblade prepares to finish off the mighty dragon, but suddenly it gets up, revealing it was just faking its defeat. It quickly bites Terrorblade's neck, creating a massive hole in it before the dragon shakes it off. Davon sees this chance and charges up, targeting the hole. He attacks the wounded area, and this finally brings Terrorblade down. Davon then goes to check up on the injured Slyrak. He tells the dragon that it will have a peaceful sleep, but the proud dragon will not accept such a death. As a warrior, Davon realizes what Slyrak wants. He raises his sword to give it a proper goodbye, but suddenly the dragon's hand moves faster and it betrays him by slicing his neck, and Davon's neck starts leaking tomato juice. Davon's fang necklace falls off his neck, and the dragon apologizes to him as his vision suddenly goes black. Outside the tunnel, Mirana finds Davon collapsed and alone. She orders her friend Marcy to cover him with a cloak, wondering what smart life decisions left Davon like this. However, she is confident that this dragon knight is still alive. In his dreams, Davon remembers collapsing outside the cave, with the will of the dragon struggling inside his body. Once he had gotten up, Davon walked down the forest to go back to town. But then some bandits rolled up and cornered him while he was still dazed. The bandies got offended by his rude behavior and decided to take away all of his possessions, including clothes. After the bandit attack, Davon wakes up with a massive tiger growling in his face. He gets scared, but Mirana orders the tiger to go away, explaining that it was just sniffing out the blood on his body. Davon suddenly notices that his fang necklace is missing and starts panicking, but Mirana reminds him that he's barely even wearing anything and should visit the nearest town to get some new clothes. Marcy picks him up, and they set off for their journey together. Mirana asks Davon if he has anyone else's blood on him, but he has a hard time remembering what happened in the cave. Davon then recalls that he was inside the tunnel and met a dragon, but there was actually more than one older dragon inside. Mirana doesn't believe that he was able to fight 2 adult dragons on his own, but Davon can faintly recall that there was something else with them down there as well. Their conversation is interrupted with Marcia comes back with a rabbit she hunted for dinner. Davon shares dinner with Mirana and asks for her name and background, knowing she is the princess of the Night Silver Woods. They continue on their journey and after a few days, reach another town. Davon still feels sick, but he is able to continue walking. He offers to take the girls to a free inn since they don't have any money, but the girls soon find out that the inn is dirtier than the average Discord mod's basement. Thankfully, Davon is still well known even in another town, so he chats up the locals and gets a room inside for free. On the way to the room, they see a portrait of Kaden, a legendary knight who defeated a dragon of every species. Davon follows the girls to their room after fangirling for Kaden, and the girls almost puke after seeing cockroaches inside their place. However, after learning that this is the best room that the inn has, they decide to be grateful and accept what they are getting. After settling into their room, the girls go back down and see Davon drinking again. They ask the innkeeper for some directions to a black market where they want to get their item. The innkeeper is surprised that the noble-looking ladies want to go to such a shady place, but he gives them the directions anyway. Davon gets up to lead them outside, but he pathetically vomits out everything because of all the alcohol. Inside his vomit is a crystal ring, which shocks all the customers. One of them gets enraged that Davon has the ring. He claims that his friend used to own that ring, but some savages attacked him on the road and tore him to shreds. The man starts attacking Davon, but even the drunk dragon knight knows how to defend himself, so he quickly turns the battle around and smacks the angry man into the floor. The scared man runs away, saying that he'll bring his brothers to take revenge. From his words, Davon remembers the words of Terrorblade, to give up and let him inside his soul. He breaks into a cold sweat and collapses, later waking up in a quiet room. The innkeeper checks in on him but politely asks him to leave the building. Davon is not an idiot and knows that the owner cannot afford to have any fights in his place, and the guy is actually a loyal customer. Davon asks the man if he has a spare weapon for him and leaves empty-handed after the innkeeper denies it. Meanwhile, the two girls are in the black market where they request to see the master of the goods. The guards take them inside a posh place where they wait for their appointment. When the master trader arrives, Guan also reveals himself with a smug grin. The master refuses to tell the girls anything about their item, and instead orders his guards to arrest them and take them to the basement. Back to Davon, he tries asking a blacksmith to make a sword for him. Davon offers him the gold ring he has as payment, but the blacksmith refuses, saying that he does not want the bandit guys to develop a grudge against him. This leaves Davon with the best money-making opportunity ever: gambling. Meanwhile, as the girls are led to the basement, the trader's guards start making plans to sell them off and make money. However, the girls seem extremely calm and easily start dismantling everyone like Legos. Mirana manages to get to Guan and knocks him down. She demands that he tell her where the real lotuses are, and the cowardly man tells her to find a man called the shopkeeper. After getting her information, she gifts him a broken tooth before leaving the black market with Marcy. As Davon fails all his gambling, the girls meet the shopkeeper for their information. He tells them that an exiled princess should not go around asking for stolen goods, but helps her because she is an assistant of the goddess Celine. He then gives the girls a green jewel that will help them access a tower where they can find the man with the lotuses. Mirana nods and gives the man her favor as payment, which he politely accepts. The girls finish their assignment in the town and find Davon sulking in a corner. They tell him to go get some rest, but Davon reminds them that the bandits are after him. Mirana knows it's dumb to fight so many people at once in his condition, but Davion's pride or stupidity as a warrior does not allow him to back down from a fight. Finally, Marcy gives Davon a small dagger for help before the two girls leave to find the tower. They end up camping on a nearby hill, though, where they hear the galloping of several horses. The horses are all ridden by the bandit men who quickly surround Davon with malicious intent. Davon offers the bandits a peace treaty, but they simply laugh it off before attacking him. He manages to defeat the bandits in one-on-one fights, but they start using their numbers advantage, and Davon quickly starts losing. More and more of the bandits start landing attacks on Davon, and the situation seems hopeless for him. As the bandits gear up to take their sweet time torturing Davon for revenge, suddenly, help arrives for Davon in the form of raining arrows. The kind Mirana uses Marcy's help with a telescope to aim and shoot her arrows from the valley, leaving the bandits with no escape. Before Mirana can eliminate all the bandits, though, something changes in Davion's body, and he starts transforming. Black and orange scales form on his body, and Davon turns into a massive half-beast. The beast's tough skin breaks any knife that lands on it, and Davon soon begins a complete domination of his abusers. Marcy is shocked watching this scene and hands her telescope over to Mirana. Mirana is also horrified by Davion's transformation, and soon, all of the bandits are eliminated except for the first one who started the fight with Davon. The scared bandit shines a bright glimmer of sunlight into Davion's eyes, which wakes him up from his insane state. Davon realizes that he has turned into a monster and immediately reverts to his human form, feeling guilty for his actions. He collapses onto his knees as Marcy and Mirana arrive, wondering if he is even the same person or not. However, city knights start marching in from the commotion, and Mirana reasons that Davon should run away from this threat and think about his problems later. The three of them depart together once again, and Davon learns that the girls are headed for the tower peaks for their quest. He points out that his own destination, the Dragon Knight's Den, is also close to there, so they could travel together. Mirana reassures the nervous Davon, saying that it is her job to deal with broken people. Davon also wonders if he can ask the mysterious sage of the tower about his weird transformation. Somewhere else in a forest, some elves happily greet their friend Fimrin. The girl shakes off their worries and shows them a bag containing a bright purple lotus, the same lotus of goddess Celine that Mirana and Marcy are looking for. Just a little while ago, Fimrin had wandered into a sacred temple of Celine, where she picked up a purple lotus from a pond. Mirana and Marcy immediately noticed her, but the girl used a cloning technique to run away from them. Mirana unleashed a rain of arrows that destroyed all the clones, but the girl was too far for them to reach her. Even though an arrow hit Fimrin's arm, she was able to escape into the forest with the stolen lotus. Right now, Fimrin is flexing hard about her epic score. She ventured deep into the hidden Night Silver Woods for this treasure. The elf girl thinks that the woods are their real home, and swears that she will retake it for the elves, just like an elven prophecy predicted. Meanwhile, at Mirana's camp, Davon experiences another nightmare filled with the screams of dragons. He wakes up in a cold sweat with his partner Mirana pointing her bow at him, wondering if she can still trust him or not. Davon tells her that he still feels like himself, but he experiences nightmares containing the voices of all the dragons in the world and their wishes. Mirana lowers her bow, realizing that Davon is safe to be around when he's awake in his human form. She offers him a helping hand, hopeful that the sage in the tower might know a cure for his illness. The next day at the elf village, Fimrin explains an old myth about how the sun god stopped shining, which weakened the moon goddess Mene. After Mene got weakened, Celine, the goddess of the dark moon, defeated her and took over the night in her place. The elves remember Celine as a cruel goddess who forced all the people to worship her and believe in her. Even though Celine banished the elves who believed in Mene, they left and started their lives in other parts of the world, remaining loyal to their old goddess, hoping that one day she could come back. The elven kids wonder how they will revive the goddess if she is dead. Fimrin tells her that gods can be revived with divine power if their believers worship them enough. She also reveals that Mene left some clues and prophecies to help revive her. The kids wonder how the lotus flower would help them revive Mene, and learn that a powerful sorcerer in a certain tower has the power to use the lotuses to revive her. Later, Fimrin's friends confront her, saying that a journey to the unknown tower is too dangerous for her. They wonder why she believes so much in their goddess, so Fimrin reveals her cloning and teleportation magic to them. The elves are shocked, remembering that old priests of Mene had similar powers in the past. Having these powers in the present gives Fimrin hope that some part of Mene is still out there. She prepares to leave alone, but her friends smile, ready to support her throughout her entire journey. Shifting to Davon and Mirana, they trudge along a snowy tundra, where even walking is a problem. Mirana doesn't trust Davon enough to sleep a night in the snow, so she makes everyone ride her cat, Sagan. Suddenly, the snow underneath them begins breaking and Mirana gets caught in a crevice. Davon manages to get her hand, but she starts losing her group soon. Mirana notices Sagan struggling to carry everyone's weight. Despite Davion's pleas to hold on, she bravely cuts off the rope tying them all together and falls down into the massive pit. Luckily, Mirana lands on some snow which cushions her fall and lets her live. Somewhere else, the confident elf Fimrin leads her friends to a lush meadow, where they all find a magical tower standing in the center. They enter through the tower's massive gates but find a massive library full of books. The cold atmosphere of the empty library sends chills down everyone's spine, and after walking through a door, they all realize they have been separated from their friends. Fimrin keeps on searching for her friends as they all walk their own paths. Suddenly, a mysterious orb glows in front of the elf and asks about her identity. The orb wonders how she managed to locate and travel all the way to its hidden tower. Fimrin tells it that she simply knew that it would be here and arrived at the place without any malicious intentions. The orbs consider her response and a male elf appears from the darkness. Fimrin realizes that he is the legendary magician called Invoker, so she hands over her purple lotus to him. He tells her that she is a thief for stealing from the Night Silver Forest, but Fimrin argues that her prophecy told her that she rightfully belonged to that land. However, the Invoker coldly tells her to go back to her village. The desperate elf begs him to try to rescue her people, but the magician simply takes her lotuses and gifts her a strange coin before sending her outside. Outside the tower, Cameron appears in the forest where she meets all her friends. They all tell her that they also found nothing, and Fimrin feels like she has disappointed all of them. Watching the scene from a magical orb, the Invoker calls Mene's name. Back to the tundra, Mirana carefully walks through the deep pit. She finds an underground tunnel with some bodies lying around. Mirana also hears a living creature, so she tries to approach it, but it jumps at her like a zombie and attacks her. After the terrifying zombie attack, Mirana prays to her goddess to safely bring her out of this hellish place. Shifting to the elves, Fimrin's friends all take a look at the coin she got. They all think that she looks like the woman on the coin, and decide that they need some alone time with the homies afterward. Meanwhile, Minara walks further and further inside the tunnel, trying to look for a way out. She reaches an open area where she sees a glowing red crystal and hundreds of zombies aimlessly trying to walk to it. The crystal hypnotizes Mirana, and she also starts walking towards it. As she slowly makes her way over, a woman's voice echoes in Mirana's mind. Just as when she is about to reach out and touch the crystal, Mirana's mind clears because of the woman's words. She finds herself in the middle of a billion creepy zombies and rushes to escape. The scared girl finally manages to find a way out of the cave and runs for it like no tomorrow. After making it out alive, Mirana still finds multiple figures lurking around the mountains. She takes out her bow and starts shooting them down one by one. The figures keep moving close to her, reaching her face, but finally, reinforcements show up in the form of Davon and Marcy. Mirana takes Davion's hand, and they all run away from the nightmarish place on Sagan's back. Back the Elvies are all peacefully resting in the forest when a cold woman called Luna approaches them. She points a spear at Fimrin's head, demanding to get the lotuses back from her. The poor elf girl tries telling her that she doesn't have the lotuses anymore, but the woman can sense their presence, so she doesn't believe her. Suddenly, one of the other elves wakes up and attacks Luna, only to get immediately struck down. Fimrin screams out in horror as Luna demands the lotuses from her. Seeing Fimrin's other friends trying to run away, Luna takes them out as well, leaving the crying elf girl all alone. Fimrin screams in pain, wailing that her friends lost their lives for nothing. However, the woman still isn't convinced that she is speaking the truth, and prepares to remove her head from her body. When Luna's attack reaches Fimrin, though, a portal takes the elf away and back to the Invoker. With cold eyes, he tells her that her old life is over, and now she will build a new one with him. At the same time, Davon and the girls relax in a safe area. Mirana thanks Davon for saving her life, but he reminds her that he already owes her 2 massive favors. He asks if she can spend one more night with him before they reach their destinations. But the traumatized Mirana starts talking about her experience in the dark cave. When Davon hears about the people transformed into zombies, he wonders if he'll also become like that. However, Mirana reassures him, saying that even if his body transforms sometimes, he still feels like the same person. After giving him this information, the tired girl turns to sleep under Davion's protection. Close to their hiding spot, a battle rages between a massive dragon and an armored knight. The knight confidently faces the huge opponent and easily takes it out in one quick sword attack. He drags it away to a nearby tower located in the same tundra. Deep within Celine's temple, the goddess reveals herself to her believer Luna. Luna angrily tells her that the lotuses have been stolen. However, Celine thinks that it is just a story that should not be a cause of concern. Luna still feels guilty that Mirana was also exiled to search for these lotuses, but Celine points out that she actually chose to go on a journey instead of getting exiled. She comforts her depressed believer, saying that even though the lotuses mean a lot to her, the loss isn't something unaffordable. Finally, Mirana and Davon reach the Dragon Knight's tower. They enter the place and warm themselves up. Davon hands Mirana some whiskey to lift her spirits, but all it does is give her a stomachache. Noticing her sitting awkwardly, the Dragon Knight tries to make small talk but gets saved when the intimidating warrior Kaden comes in, dragging a gigantic dragon corpse inside. The group greets him, impressed by his strength. Kaden points out that he is actually wearing full dragon armor and gear, so it's not that hard for him to hunt dragons on his own. After flexing his enchanted armor, Kaden begins skinning the dragon to use its body. While he works, Davon tells him about the elder dragons he found in the pit. Suddenly, Kaden remarks that Mirana doesn't like how he is handling the dragon's body. He explains that the dragon's breath is burning hot and contains poison that tortures its victim for hours before they can finally escape their misery. As he keeps working through the flesh more and more, Davion's expression changes, the dragon's dead eyes stirring bad memories in his head. He quickly gets up and leaves the room, and Mirana follows him. She wonders why he lied to Kaden, but Davon explains that he actually wanted to fight him right there. The dragons in his heart have made Davon aggressive against people who harm their kind, but Mirana brings him back to reality. She tells him that Kaden might understand his problem as a dragon expert and help him out. Somewhere else in the Invoker's temple, he asks Fimrin how she learned the shadow step technique. After she tells him when she learned the techniques, Fimrin grows impatient and growls at the magician, demanding he tells her how this will help bring the goddess Mene back to life. She tells him about a nightmare she experienced in her sleep, where she saw all her family and friends, repeating Mene's name over and over again until she woke up. He doesn't take her problems seriously, thinking she is just an emotional little girl. He quietly gives her a big book to read, saying this is what she needs for their mission. Back in the Dragon Knight's tower, Kaden notices that Davon isn't eating any food. He gives Mirana some money to spend for the rest of the journey, and she asks him why he is in the tundra fighting a young dragon. Kaden explains that he is taking revenge for the men from his past. He had gone fighting in a town with his father to hunt some young dragons. However, an adult dragon appeared and scorched everything around it, leaving everyone to panic and run away. A lot of the soldiers remained still in fear as the huge creature approached them. It shot massive flames from its mouth, ending everyone that had gone there except Kaden, who had been protected by his teacher. Kaden reveals that the dragon who had attacked his group that day was named Slyrak and is his main target. He explains that he found Slyrak's lair after a while, but found it empty with some body remains and Davion's necklace. Kaden thinks that Davon ran away from the adult dragon. He doesn't blame him for saving his life, but asks him what he saw inside to help him hunt down Slyrak. Davon explains everything that happened, and Kaden promises to help him as a brother. After discussing everything with Kaden, Davon feels relieved that he has a powerful helper on his side. He tells Mirana that they should throw a little party and relax a little, but she sees right through him and tells him to just be honest about his emotions. Davon wonders why she's worried about him, and Mirana points out that he has been silently thinking to himself and avoiding his meals all the time, despite being in a safe place. Mirana then recalls her own experiences, saying that the trip in the cave also changed her own thoughts about herself. The red jewel in the cave had filled her with the dream of escape, but she realized that if she accepted, she would have just used its powers to hide from her problems. Now she is back in the world and wants an answer from her partner Davon. Davon thinks that he's a bit too insane to help her with anything, but Mirana refuses to let him tell them who she relies on. She kisses his forehead and leaves for her room, leaving Davon confused and silent. Shifting back to Celine's temple, we see the magician use a lotus to send a female soul to her. A girl comes out to greet Celine. As her goddess opens her arms for her, she immediately accepts her embrace and pledges her loyalty to her. Suddenly, Celine's power shrouds the girl and she starts choking, her power being absorbed by her. The invoker appears behind Celine, feeling pity for the girl who doesn't even know her real goddess. Celine doesn't care though, since she just gained another blind believer who will always love her. Then she asks the invoker why he is visiting her with the lotuses. He tells her that he will return the lotuses if only she lets him say goodbye to her. Celine feels sad, not wanting her past lover to get erased from the world. He tells her that their love was in the past, but the goddess remains determined to show him that she can still love him. As her charm traps the magician, Davon wakes up on his own bed, still reeling from the dragon nightmare. He is greeted with the sight of a silent Kaden, who knocks him out and drags him away. Mirana soon wakes up and sees Davion's bed empty, so she rushes out and chases Kaden. Mirana watches Kaden lower Davion into a basement and rushes down the stairs to see him. Inside, Kaden hits Davion's body, wanting to bring out Slyrack from within him. Davion tells him that Slyrack is dead, but Kaden remains unconvinced. He hits him more to enrage him, and finally Slyrack's old voice comes out. The dragon tells Kaden that he is simply using Davion's boy to travel somewhere, but Kaden thinks he is hiding. Slyrack's ego is stirred up by Kaden's disrespect, and it threatens to end him with a single breath. Slyrack tells Kaden that even if he defeats it, he will never be able to avenge his father, because there will be no one left to appreciate his actions anymore. However, the badass Kaden stands fearlessly, saying that he has come prepared for everything. Seeing that he is unaffected, Slyrack then starts taunting Kaden about his old friends and family that he destroyed. However, the old man remains calm and frees Slyrack from his chains, ready for a final showdown. Slyrack rushes to pummel Kaden, but the knight easily dodges its attack and knocks him away. Kaden prepares to finish off the dragon, finally getting his revenge after 20 years, but Mirana manages to break into the chamber. Sagan and Marcy distract Kaden, and the dragon takes its full form at last. Its massive claws and fire blasts ruin the surroundings, as Mirana takes everyone else to run away from the battle. Kaden and Slyrack's battle continues, each of them matching the other blow for blow, but neither of them gains the upper hand, as Mirana and the others escape on Sagan's back. The two giant warriors break out of the tower and bring their fight to the open field. With a final attack, Kaden charges into Slyrack's mouth, leaving Mirana to think that her friend Davion was lost with him. However, the dragon flies out of the attack unharmed and swoops in and carries them away. Back at the goddess's temple, Celine seems to be satisfied with her partner. She tells him that she'll forgive all his sins, but the man wonders if she'll do the same for someone else. Celine refuses, so the man recalls how his daughter was left alone by her. Celine tells him to forget about her, but the man tells her that he will return to her if she says his daughter's name. He warns her that all of her outcasted children, the elves, hate her and are planning to fight back against her. He reminds Celine that the lotuses are under his control, so he has the power to cause great damage to her if he wants. This makes Celine panic, and she tries to trap the leaving invoker in vain. As he teleports back to his tower, the frustrated goddess goes out to the Night Silver Forest. She meets Luna and announces to her that the elves are actually trying to fulfill their old prophecy. Luna is shocked that the threat from the stories is real. Celine has lost her mind and commands her to eliminate all elven threats from the world, forgetting their past together. Later, Luna gathers all the soldiers of her Dark Moon Legion around Celine's temple and incites their rage, ordering them to move out and annihilate all the traitors who refuse to believe in their goddess. With Celine's power, every troop of soldiers gets teleported out from the temple to 11 villages. In one village, Luna and her soldiers order all elves to surrender or be killed. The elves refuse to surrender, leading to a bloody massacre. After forcing the elves to submit, Celine appears in front of them all and declares herself to be the true goddess of the moon. Meanwhile, the dragon Slyrack crashes on the top of the mountain with Mirana and the others. As the dragon passes out, Mirana sees the valley where the tower of the invoker is supposed to be. She wonders how the dragon knew where to take her. Inside the dragon's mind, Davion wakes up in a mystical realm, tall mountains towering over the land below. This is the world of thunder, where all the strongest dragons of the world gather to discuss their problems. He sees massive dragons surrounding him, who question why a human is standing in the place of their brother, Slyrack. Davion asks what happens, and learns that Slyrack is trying to hide from the demon called Terrorblade. The dragons explain that their old friend Uldarak found out about Terrorblade's identity. Davion also learns that elder dragons don't die, instead they get reborn into a new body. One of the dragons wonders if Terrorblade himself is hiding within Davion's body. As in the outside world, Mirana notices a rock stuck in Slyrack's body. She tries to pull out the rock, which causes Davon to feel pain in his dream world. His eyes then widen in horror as Slyrack wakes up in the real world. The dragon goes berserk, causing Mirana to fall back and run away on Sagan's back. Slyrack chases after her, destroying everything in its path. Jumping on the mountains, Sagan loses his balance on the rocks and falls down in the forest below. Davon stands in his dream world, wondering why he can't wake up to help his friend. The dragons all laugh at him, saying they won't let him go before they have gotten all their answers. The strongest of the dragons then asks Davon about his name and how he got into their world. Davon has no idea how he got involved with these powerful creatures, so the elder dragon decides to read his memories for him. Mirana wakes up in the forest, temporarily safe from Slyrak's vision. She sees Marcy collapses on the ground, a horrible injury on her leg. After getting up Marcy, she prepares to leave the area, but Marcy grabs the green gem the shopkeeper gave them. With the gem in her hands, Mirana once again gets on Sagan's back and starts riding away from the forest. Slyrak sees her and starts blasting hot fire at her, but luckily, they manage to run inside a cave. With some distraction, Mirana manages to leave Slyrak behind them and come out from the other side. The dragons finish reading Davion's mind, and he is horrified to learn that he was killed by Slyrak. The dragons also point out that Slyrak has fused with Davon, becoming one with his body and soul. One of the dragons refuses to accept this since the natural process of the dragons is to be reborn, saying that Davon is a monster who needs to be eliminated. The other dragons calm him down, saying that Davon also showed mercy and kindness to Slyrak, so they should try to figure out why their friend would come with him. Davon also lashes out at the dragons, saying that the only thing they do in the real world is eat and cause destruction. He knows that if Slyrak goes wild, he will destroy thousands of villages and lives around him. However, the dragons are still not done with their interrogation, so they make him wait longer before waking him up. Outside, Mirana finds some cover and takes a look at Marcy's injury. After putting some bandages on it, she tells Marcy that only a healer can help her with the infection. Slyrak starts circling around their hiding spot, and Mirana wonders what to do. She doesn't see the Tower of the Magician anywhere near her, thinking that the shopkeeper tricked her. However, Marcy takes the green jewel from her hands and shines it at a spot near them, which reveals the tower's location. Mirana realizes that the jewel is just the key to finding the tower, and thanks Marcy for her smart move. Then she tells Marcy to get help from the sage and go ahead. Mirana then goes out to distract Slyrak while Marcy escapes with Sagan. In the dream world, Davon tells the dragons that he is willing to look for the answers to Slyrak's behavior. The dragons question why they should trust a man who is literally called a dragon slayer, so Davon defends himself, saying that he is only protecting innocent people from the terrifying dragons. The dragons wonder why he only hunts dragons even though many other beasts and animals also kill humans. In the face of this difficult question, Davon thinks about it, then replies like a total giga-chad that he just hates dragons. In the outside world, Slyrak chases Sagan, but Mirana's arrows hurt it. It changes its targets and charges at Mirana, who runs away through a cave. She experiences many injuries, as Slyrak's attacks cause her to fall down on hard rocks. Meanwhile, Davon lashes out at the dragons, pointing out that a dragon wiped out his entire family and village. Thus, he devoted his entire life to hunting down as many dragons as he could for his revenge. Outside, Mirana manages to hide from Slyrak once again. She sees the rock still inside its body and thinks about a plan. She runs out and calls the dragon to her. While in the dream world, Davon tells all the dragons that even if he dies at their hands, the only thing he will ever regret is not killing enough of them. But the dragons remind him that he still helped their brother Slyrak. Davon tells them that the reason he helped Slyrak in the cave is that he knows the demon Terrorblade is much more evil than all the dragons. He begs the dragons to let him go and fix things, and the dragons begin discussing what they want to do with him. The dragons think about killing Davon and helping Slyrak be reborn, which shocks him. As the dragons reach their decision, Mirana climbs onto Slyrak's back in the real world. Davon feels her and begs the dragons to kill him before Slyrak hurts Mirana. Mirana talks to the dragon, saying that she knows Davon is somewhere inside there. As Slyrak roars at her, she calls Davon's name, which finally stirs something within the dragon. Mirana reminds Davon of his own words, that he is a person who kills monsters, not people. This memory finally makes Davon snap in his dream world. As the other dragons try to kill him, Davon refuses to die and screams, a fire surrounding his body. The wound caused by the rock finally closes up, and Slyrak transforms back into Davion's human form as he falls down to the ground. Once he wakes up, he sees a relieved Mirana who falls down from her injuries. Davon rushes to help her and asks where Marcy is. She shows him the Tower of the Sage through the jewel, saying they're at the Sage's place. Somewhere else in the Invoker's tower, Fimrin looks at the clothes and belongings of her old friends, feeling sad that they all lost their lives. She goes out to a balcony to clear her mind, but sees some people approaching the tower. She goes and warns the Invoker about these visitors, but the magician is already prepared to see them. They go out to the front door and see Davon walk in with Sagan and the two girls. The Invoker surveys the girls' injuries, grimly stating that they won't survive without immediate help. Davon pleads for assistance, and the Invoker agrees to aid them, but only under the condition of negotiating due to the shopkeeper's protection. Davon, who thought that the sage would just hand over the lotuses, gets confused by what they will negotiate, but the Invoker puts him to sleep with his magic. Fimrin gets angry at the Invoker for letting Mirana, the princess of Celine and their enemy, inside their house. Shifting to an elf village, some priests of Celine brainwash the elven people into believing in their goddess. The elves try to refuse, but the soldiers threaten them, so they are forced to accept and believe. The process of believing hurts the elves as their minds get marked with Celine's authority. While this process is going on, one of the Dark Moon soldiers stumbles inside the village and collapses from his wounds. He warns the other soldiers that elves are out there hunting them in the forest. Luna inspects some recovery tents in the village where she sees her soldiers badly injured and dying. She asks one of them who attacked them and from where, but the man can only remember massive hordes of elves surrounding his troop before everyone gets taken out. The memory of the attack is traumatizing for the man, and he starts struggling and screaming as the nurses try to hold him in his place. Back to the Invoker's tower, Davon wakes up alone in a bed. He calls out for Mirana, but realizes that she probably won't call back to him. Once he gets out of bed, he gets teleported straight to the Invoker. Davon asks the man where his friends are and learns that the Invoker has put them into a healing sleep. He thanks the Invoker for saving his friends, and the Invoker asks him why he has come to his tower. Davon reveals that the green gem actually belongs to Mirana, and he is just there to learn about the demon Terrorblade. The Invoker wonders why he is searching for Terrorblade when his friends get attacked by a dragon. So Davon tells him that he is actually the dragon himself. Back in the elf village, Luna's soldier passes away and she questions the village elder about where this secret elf legion lives. The elder denies that the legion exists, so Luna pressures him with a threat. The man is left with no choice but to betray his people and lead them there. The Dark Moon soldiers set out for the forest, where they try to find this elf legion. Luna feels lost inside and wonders if the elder is tricking her. But the old elf tells her that he is just leading her where he thinks the legion lives. Suddenly, arrows start shooting out from the darkness, and the Dark Moon soldiers raise their shields. A shadow jumps out from the darkness and takes away the elder, leading Luna to call her magic and blast the nearby area. Seeing that the elves have stopped attacking, Luna takes her remaining soldiers and begins marching back inside. At some point, one of the soldiers feels some blood drip onto his armor. Horrified, he looks up with the rest of them and finds out his fellow soldiers decorated on the trees as warnings. The elf elder is also tied up and labeled as a traitor on his body. Back to the Invoker's tower, the magician takes Davon to a magical realm, where he explains that their world exists between 7 heavens and 7 hells. These 7 heavens and hells were created by the pillars of creation, which are supported by the power of 4 elements and 4 laws. Each of these pillars is taken by a mighty dragon, including the King of Fire, Slyrak. If Terrorblade managed to possess all 8 of these dragons, he would gain the power to control everything in the universe. Davon wonders why Slyrak chose him to run from Terrorblade, and the Invoker is also clueless. The Invoker tells him that Slyrak is temporarily undetectable in his body, but soon Terrorblade will find him. The Invoker warns Davon that Slyrak is actually taking over his body. He gives him a fang necklace that will help Davon resist Slyrak's control. However, he warns Davon that if Slyrak does take over his body, he will go wild in this world and Davon will lose his life. Somewhere else in the tower, Fimrin kneels before a statue of Mene. She pleads with her goddess to help her way, realizing that her heart is now full of hate and bloodlust for the soldiers of the Dark Moon. Fimrin notices Davon approaching the room, so she vanishes using her shadow magic. At the same time, Luna also kneels in front of her goddess Celine's statue. She begs her to guide her since her heart is also filled with hatred and bloodlust for the other elves. Luna feels guilty for all the bloodshed she is causing, and Celine appears in front of her. Luna thinks about her past, feeling like she might disappoint Celine, but her goddess tells her that she accepted her while knowing her true nature. So she wants her to go out and fight with a free heart. Luna finally gets up with her spirits raised, ready to carry out her orders. In the Invoker's Tower, Mirana wakes up in her room, healed of all her injuries with Marcy. The two of them get teleported into a room with Davon, where he gets surprised and hugs a blushing Mirana out of happiness. The Invoker approaches them, and Mirana thanks him for his huge help. Then she tells him the reason for her visit, and the Invoker wonders why she wants to return the lotuses to Celine. He tells Mirana that her goddess is a much different person from what she thinks, and takes the three of them to a dream world. He shows her the visions of all the blood and death caused by Celine's soldiers, saying that she has misunderstood a prophecy and started attacking out of fear. Mirana is unable to believe that her goddess would commit so many atrocities, but the Invoker reassures her that this is Celine's real personality that she is hiding. With the power of her moon, Celine destroys the enemies in Luna's path, and Luna finally enters the heart of the Elf Legion's area. With their powers boosted, her Dark Moon soldiers attack and take out all the elves there, demanding to know about their leader's whereabouts. The elven soldiers tell them to buzz off, so Luna tortures them and finds out the location. Meanwhile, Mirana thinks that the Invoker is lying to her. She thinks that he is a devil who wants to destroy the world, but the magician claims that he only wants peace. He offers to return Celine's lotuses to her, but only on the condition that Celine accepts peace and ends her attack on the elves. Mirana isn't convinced, so the Invoker leaves her alone with his terms still standing. Mirana goes to a balcony to drink and clear her mind, so Davon joins her. Mirana sighed, wondering if she was wrong about her goddess. Thinking about the mindless zombie in that cave, she wonders if Celine has also trained her followers to act so mindlessly. Davon tells her that perhaps the Invoker is also not a bad person, and she should try to trust him to end the war. Mirana doesn't want to think about it, feeling like a scared girl who just wants to go home. Davon reminds her that she is a girl who just fought Slyrak, a powerful dragon, and survived alone. This cheers her up, making her crack a joke. Davon then tells her that he is also scared of everything that is happening around them, and the two of them share a kiss in this precious moment. Fimrin sees the two of them together and gets angry. She tries taking them out, but the Invoker prevents her from ruining their moment and teleports her away. He warns her that not even a god can break the protection of the shopkeeper. Fimrin gets angry that he is protecting enemies, but the Invoker tells her that Mirana is also a good person who wants peace. The elf girl still can't trust him. Feeling betrayed that he wants to return her hard-earned lotuses to the goddess. However, the Invoker reminds her that she stole the lotuses, so returning them isn't a bad move. He shows her a blue flower, saying that his late daughter discovered it. The Invoker swears on his love for his daughter to do the right thing, and Fimrin grows silent. Shifting to the Dark Moon army, they corner the elves in a canyon. The soldiers demand to see the leader, and she comes out to meet Luna. Luna asks for her name, but the leader laughs, saying she is just another enemy to her. She calls Luna a traitor, accusing her of betraying her kind when they protected them. She closes her eyes and waits for her death, but Luna uses her spear and takes out all of the other elves around her, leaving the horrified leader alive. Luna explains that if she took her life, she would have been remembered as a hero, so she will instead take her as a prisoner. Back to the Invoker's tower, Mirana accepts his terms and takes the box of lotuses from him. The Invoker gives Davon a set of armor, saying that this thing will not be destroyed if he ever transforms again. He introduces the group to Fimrin, saying she will lead them to the elf forest. The Invoker sends them off and tells Fimrin to return Davon to him once the mission is over. Meanwhile, Luna returns to Celine, feeling unsatisfied that none of the elves she took down are truly believing in her. Celine also feels upset, thinking that Luna forced everyone with brutal force instead of converting them to become believers. Luna tells her that she was the one who ordered her to do this, but Celine claims that she wanted Luna to do things in a different way. She leaves her soldier heartbroken, saying she needs to earn her forgiveness now. Inside a deep room within the Invoker's tower, the magician looks inside a strange portal and offers the green gem from Mirana to it. After making his offering, the Invoker enters a grassy world. There, a strange new dragon named Lyra roars as it attacks him. The Invoker uses a glowing yellow orb to trap the dragon, fighting for his life against its powerful energy. Finally, he manages to capture the dragon, his entire body drained of energy from the intense struggle. Meanwhile, Davon is trapped in a nightmare where the Invoker's voice echoes ominously, warning him of losing control over Slyrak. He jolts awake in a cold sweat, and Mirana immediately notices his distressed state. She offers him to sleep in her tent, but Davon has El Riz, so he doesn't care about sharing a room with a woman. Mirana notices that he's acting like a drama queen, so she leaves him alone. Fimrin later teases Davon for arguing with his lover, but he tries denying that they're a couple. As she leaves, Mirana notices Fimrin laughing with Davon, a look of jealousy on her face. On the way to the elf forest, Mirana keeps growing more and more upset as she watches Fimrin joke around with Davon. Davon notices that Mirana is getting jealous, but she claims it's not the case. When they reach an open ground, he notices some flying dragons circling the area. The group hides behind some cover as they watch the dragon swoop in and take a poor deer. Mirana notices him smiling and learns that he's happy to deal with a problem he can solve for once. Back in the Invoker's realm, the now old man remembers his little daughter Philomena. The magician had built the tower as a new home for her. The little girl happily ran around in the castle's massive halls, but she felt sad that her mother wasn't there to spend time with her. The Invoker tried using some copium, saying that maybe her mom would return with the milk, but Philomena knew better than to believe him. Her father hugged her to comfort her, but then he noticed some purple marks on her arm. He worriedly asked her how she got this illness, and learned that she had had it ever since she left her mom. Philomena got worried about her illness, but her dad told her that she would be okay. Back in the real world, Davion's group walks through a forest and settles down to sleep at night. Mirana remarks that Fimrin is very talkative with Davon, and he teases her for being jealous. Fimrin, on the other hand, feels jealous of Davon, thinking that he is lucky to be traveling the world with his 2 wives. However, Mirana quickly clears her misunderstanding, and Fimrin learns that humans don't actually have multiple partners. Davon thinks that having multiple wives wouldn't be bad, but Mirana's judgmental look quickly makes him rethink his idea. Davon then asks Fimrin about her own family, but learns that they all died in the war. Davon feels sad for her, but Mirana steps in, saying that it's Fimrin's own fault for starting the war that killed so many people. Fimrin also gets angry as Mirana accuses her of stealing the lotuses for her selfish reasons. She points her bow at the elf, and Davon steps in to stop their fight. Fimrin leaves the scene, and Mirana remains angry at her. Davon is shocked that they had such a history, and Mirana claims that she was trying to tell him, but he ignored her. Davon sighs before going out to look for Fimrin. He calls out for her in the forest, knowing she is nearby. The elf girl sits up high on a tree with a sad look on her face. Meanwhile, inside her tent, Mirana starts coping, saying that it's not her fault that Fimrin left. However, she also realized that Davon was right since she didn't try that much to tell him the full story. She goes back to sleep, hoping to talk to him in the morning. She thanks her friend Marcy for saying the right thing, nothing at all, as Davon lies outside the tent with a worried look on his face. Fimrin also looks at them from outside but notices the box of lotuses in Mirana's tent. Shifting back to the Invoker's memories, we see him put his little daughter to bed. However, the man knows that she is probably playing around, so he goes back into her room and sees her reading a book. He takes the book away from her but notices a strange flower on it. Philomena tells him that usually flowers follow sunlight and grow in the direction of the sun. However, this strange flower actually grows towards the moon. The Invoker takes out Philomena to play in the field of these flowers, while he keeps trying his best to get a cure for her illness. All the doctors in the world and all medicine books are unable to help him. and the doctors suggest requesting the goddess Celine to use her power to heal her. The invoker gets enraged at her name and sends the magicians away. Back to the real world in the morning, Mirana notices that the lotuses are missing. She tells Davon, and they leave the camp to go searching for Fimrin. Fimrin actually wanders into the air dragon territory where she gets attacked by one. She tries to use her teleportation magic to run away, but notices that the magic only teleports her body and leaves the box behind. With this knowledge, she takes the box and runs away as Davon and Mirana try to help her. Then, Fimrin runs into a cave to hide from the dragons. Mirana thinks she will be safe inside there, but Davon knows that the cave is actually the dragon's nest. He runs towards the cave as Fimrin gets attacked inside. The dragons corner Fimrin and she backs into a wall, but Davon's voice calls out to her. He tells her to listen to his instructions, but she is too scared to move from her spot. A frustrated Davon runs for her spot and hides with her. He tells her to teleport away, but she points out that she can't teleport with the box. Davon tells her to give it to him, saying that the lotuses aren't as important as her life anyway. Fimrin thinks otherwise, feeling like if she returned the lotuses to Celine, all her hard work and the lives lost in the war would be for nothing. Davon tells her that letting go of her past work for a better future is not a bad thing, but losing her life in this cave would really be a waste. He tells her that if she doesn't want to leave, he will lose his life with her so he can die with a purpose. With his motivation, Fimrin finally gives her box to the crazy man. He tells her to leave, saying that he'll find a way to get out on his own. Fimrin thanks Davon with a hug before she teleports away. Davon gets out as the dragon charges at him. He prepares for a hard battle, but the dragon stops in its tracks upon seeing him, the aura of Slyrak forcing it to respect him. Outside the cave, Mirana waits anxiously and finally sees Davon coming out unharmed. Davon tells her that he has learned a new truth about himself that he doesn't want to burden her with. However, Mirana wants to share his burden and asks him what it is. Fimrin sees Davon leaning in and whispering something to Mirana, which makes her cry. Then, they finally reunite, and Davon helps the group settle their fight. With Fimrin as their guide, they begin moving again for the elf's forest. Shifting to the last of the invoker's memory, we see him at the temple of Celine, begging his wife to heal her daughter. Celine holds a grudge against him for not worshipping her, but the invoker reminds her that she is Philomena's mother. This doesn't convince Celine, so she tells the invoker that she wants him to pledge his loyalty, love, and worship to her. He obeys her order and kneels down, but then Celine asks Philomena to say it as well. The little girl refuses to worship her mom, saying that she wants a mother, not a goddess. Philomena tells Celine that she loves her, but will never consider her a goddess. This shocks the invoker, who begs the goddess to take mercy on the child. However, Celine is too arrogant and decides to hold a grudge against a child, leaving the invoker screaming in despair. With this haunting memory in his mind, the invoker absorbs some energy from the land around him, returning to his prime. In the real world, Kaden finds the air dragon's nest and takes out all the dragons living inside. He notices the remains of Davon's clothes and goes outside to a group of dragon knights. Having obtained the scent, they all move out to find their missing friend. At last, Davon's group arrives at the elves' homeland, signified by two towering rocks marking their entrance. Inside one of the elven camps, Luna approaches the imprisoned elf leader, where she gives her some food. The elf wonders why Luna personally serves her food, and she replies that she just wants her to remind her who is in charge. However, the elf taunts Luna, saying that she just likes looking at her prisoner to feel like she is actually doing something good in her life. Luna shrugs off her insult and goes outside. Back to Davon's group, they reach a place where they see bodies strung around the trees. Fimrin gets sad and buries the people before they move forward. They finally reach a village and settle down, but some soldiers come out and point their weapons at them. Mirana introduces herself as the Princess of the Moon, and the soldiers stop their hostility. They begin leading her to Luna, and Fimrin gets flashbacks of the horrible massacre that she unleashed on her people. Luna calls in Mirana for a private chat while sending the others away. Mirana goes inside and gives her the box of lotuses. Luna gets confused when the box doesn't open and learns that Celine needs to accept the invoker's terms if she wants her lotuses back. Luna laughs at this, thinking that Mirana is naive if she thinks that peace is that easy to achieve. However, Mirana mocks her, saying that she is a cruel woman who enjoys bloodshed. Luna points out the prophecy of the elves that predicted the end of the world, saying that Mirana is at fault for letting Fimrin steal the lotuses and run away in the first place. Mirana reminds her that she has done her best to redeem herself for her mistake, but that doesn't mean they have to make more in the future. Meanwhile, as Davon and the others feel trapped in the village, Luna finally takes the lotuses from Mirana and heads over to Celine's temple. She offers the box to her goddess, feeling weird for agreeing to the enemy's terms. Luna finally returns to Mirana and tells her that Celine has accepted the invoker's offer. The next day, Davon awkwardly practices his goodbyes, knowing that his journey with Mirana will end once the lotuses are returned. Marcy sees him and hugs him, as Davon realizes he will also miss this silent friend. Mirana dresses up ready to go out for the ceremony. Davon wonders why she is doing so much for Celine, and learns that the goddess helped Mirana during her darkest times. Then he brings up the goodbyes and tells her that if she ever needs his dragon hunting services again, she can always call him. Mirana also smiles and approaches him for a goodbye kiss. Outside, Fimrin hears some elf children singing songs in praise of the goddess Mene. She enters the prison of the elf leader and offers to break her out of there. The elf leader refuses, saying that she will never surrender to Celine again. She feels hatred for the evil goddess, saying that the elves will have their revenge this time around. Fimrin thinks that the elves are loving creatures and should stop, but the elf leader coldly laughs in her face. The elf girl is forced to leave when guards hear her talking, leaving the elf leader behind. At night, everyone gathers around Celine's temple as Mirana presents her with the lotuses. Luna takes the lotuses from her and gives them to Celine. But when the lotuses are accepted, the sky turns a bloody red as the moon gets blocked out. The elves suddenly gain power, and Mirana realizes that Celine's power of the moon is missing. Taking this chance, the elves charge at the dark moon soldiers, and a bloody battle begins. The invoker calmly watches this scene, as he shifts to the inside of the temple. There, a priestess is offering her prayer to Celine. Suddenly, she starts groaning in pain as her body changes, and a strange demon emerges from her. It's Terrorblade, whose green eyes glow as it takes control of everyone around it. Celine finally appears before the demon and attacks it. Davon and Fimrin also reach the scene of the battle as Luna and the elf leader face off against each other. Luna gains the upper hand against the elf leader, but Fimrin also jumps in to avenge her friends. Remembering their deaths, she charges at Luna and finally takes her down. Luna collapses on the ground from her injuries, seeing her beast friend Nova also down. Mirana comes over to Sagan's back and offers to help Luna. As she leaves the area, Davon is surrounded by all the elf soldiers. Realizing he has no choice, he YOLOs it and transforms into Slyrak, ready to crush all the insects. Shifting back to Terrorblade, the demon coldly mocks Celine for being a goddess without worshippers. He insults her, saying that she has always been trying to fill the void her daughter left in her heart by trying to help out broken believers. Celine's ego gets hurt by his words, and she realizes that the invoker has sent over the demon to hunt her. Terrorblade tells her that he simply made a deal with the invoker, and the two of them begin an epic showdown. Celine feels confident against the demon, but Terrorblade is able to easily avoid her attacks and trap her. He mercilessly keeps on mocking her for being a scared little girl, knowing that she is helpless without the power of her believers. Terrorblade knocks Celine down to the ground, treating her like she's nothing but a snack to him. As the proud goddess sheds tears, the demon lifts her up by the face, absorbing her power. Back to the battle, Mirana manages to escape the soldiers with Davion's help. Suddenly, ropes shoot out and bind the dragon, bringing him down to the ground. Kaden comes out and tells the dragon that he is just here for Davon. He uses a strange item that undoes the transformation and brings back Davon to his human form. The dragon knights leave with Davon, and the elves also realize that they need to escape. Fimrin leaves with them, but not before picking up Davion's fallen necklace, leaving her own coin behind. Somewhere in the forest, Mirana lays down a panting Luna. She tells her to rest, knowing that they don't have a goddess anymore. Luna tells her that she can't do it anymore, saying that Princess Mirana should lead her people. Back to Terrorblade, the demon finishes absorbing all of Celine's power. He drops her to the floor and finally leaves. Soon, Celine opens her eyes to see her past lover and now dreaded enemy, the Invoker right in front of her. As if to mock her arrogant actions from the past holding the upper hand this time, the Invoker coldly repeats her own words and asks Celine if she truly loves him still, and our story ends at this cliffhanger. Want part 2? Drop a comment below, and don't forget to shout out your favorite Dota 2 hero. We want to know who you're rooting for. That's it for today. Thanks for watching the video. Please leave a like and subscribe to our channel for more quality content.